and welcome to Season Quest. My name's Lucy. One of you go.
My name's Charlie.
Yay!
I'm Tom. I'm Tom.
This is a little special, we've been doing this for 2 years episode. We don't have Troy with us, because, fucking best of the best, boy. just our favorite.
Troy has slipped in on the day where we were supposed to record, and we were going to do this after recording actual puppets, but since Troy's not here, we figured we'd do the 2-year recap without him, because that's just the way that we usually do things around here.
Yeah.
This is a call-out post to Troy. Stop sleeping.
Yeah. So guys, we've been doing this shit for 2 years. Who would have thought?
Yeah. Yeah, 2 years is a long time. A long time to be friends, that's for sure.
We've been friends longer.
Wow.
Oh, I think I started kind of getting along with you guys during autumn.
The season
I still don't know everybody's name.
The season where everyone fucked you over?
Yeah. Just, when you, finally become, friends with everyone in the group and then you get, a bit roasted, it was like that. You guys were too nice to me before that.
Were we?
No. Never. Not once.
Shithead maths nerd.
That's...
Shithead.
Hey, my first question of the day is, why do we bully Lucy? Does she need to change as a person? What are your notes?
I don't think Lucy needs to change. I think we need to change, but we're reluctant to make that change. Thanks for your question. Next question, caller.
Charlie, got anything to say? Why are we mean to me? No comment.
I think it's because if we weren't mean to you, we'd be mean to me more. So I like to push it off onto you to take the brunt of it.
There's a really good quote from, I think, the last episode it's some recent episode where Tom says something mean to you, Charlie. And then Tom's like, we've been too mean to Lucy. I gotta do this to make her feel better.
Oh, I remember. It was me I wasn't saying that we were too mean to Lucy. It was just saying that Lucy's not had a good day and being mean to Charlie makes her feel better. Which is true.
It's pretty true.
I'm gonna give some structure to this recap, because this isn't like a Q&A. It's more of just our feelings and thoughts and stuff.
Yeah, I just had a Q that I needed an A for. Yeah,
we'll have a couple Qs, but that'll be from each other, not from people. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Sign will ask me a Q if I message her.
Not from people.
So we'll start with winter, and we'll talk about how we started Season Quest and stuff, and what was the process. So Lucy, you can do that because you started it.
So I came up with Season Quest when I was working on a feature-length interactive film with Troy for the Fringe Festival, and I was so tired and I was so angry at editing that I came up with a different thing I wanted to do. I was like, I can't think about this, I have to come up with something else. So I came up with Season Quest. Everything but the name, really. Including assigning seasons. I picked everyone's seasons. And then I talked about it with you guys just a little bit, and then we started a group chat. It took about 6 months from idea to first episode, which was way longer than I thought it was in my head. That was a really long time. But it was good because we needed that time because a lockdown happened. Because 2020.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happened because of horror. Because 2020 was a pretty bad year.
Yeah. I think Charlie came up with the name Season Quest.
I'm going to find, some other name ideas we had right now, so that'll take me a little while.
Oh, the ideas were shit. They were, seasons of D&D. Yeah, they were pretty terrible. And that sort of shit.
I wouldn't be surprised if I came up with a name. I'm pretty good about naming shit.
I'm pretty sure what Charlie came up with initially was, the farts that we drink on a cold winter's night.
I'm still waiting to release the farts that we drink on a cold winter's night. That's going to be my magnum opus.
I hate it here. Yeah, no, the names were shit. And then, so we did a lot of, brainstorming. I learned how to edit in Audition. It's just started raining here. This is just word vomit. And
it was thunder and lightning.
It's been some weather. And then we did a pilot, which was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't very good. The worst part is that everybody died.
Well, I would say the worst part is that we didn't know what we were doing at all, and
Yeah. But we learned a
didn't
lot
have
from
any etiquette. We still don't have etiquette,
No.
but you know.
But yeah, I'm glad we did that test run because even though it was
We
shit,
have plenty
I
of
still enjoyed
etiquette,
it.
Tom. We're very good at podcasting.
You're a bastard and a bitch.
The best part is we don't
Both
have to
of
do
them.
anything because Lucy's editing it. I just got to a point where we only had 69 downloads, and that's so fun.
That would have been
funny.
really early because a lot of our friends were very supportive and downloaded the episode on day one.
Yeah, I'm at episode 1-ish. Yeah, episode 1 because one of my friends said I like Charlie, and that's it.
Nice. That makes one of us.
Oh, buddy. And then we did Winter, which was good. Really classic D&D.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta start
That's
with
the
the
one where
classic.
I'm like, if you want classic D&D, go listen to Winter.
Yeah, I think the thing with Season Quest was because we planned for it to be like everyone does a different season. We didn't actually plan each story beforehand, really. We kind of knew a basic gist, but obviously we changed our minds as time went on. So Winter
Yeah.
was definitely like a good baseline to start on to know where we would. This is like D&D. This is classic D&D. We could go either more crazy, less D&D from here, or more classic even still, you know? Especially since Winter did good and people liked Winter, you know?
I've said most of what I wanted to say about Winter in the Winter Q&A. I don't have any...
True.
I haven't been meditating on this for a while. I don't have any new
Revelations.
thoughts. Revelations is the word I was looking for.
I know. So next we had Spring, which was like the second time ever I DM'd in my life.
The first time
Um,
was a hot air balloon.
First time was a pre-written one-shot. Or a pre-written campaign, which I turned into a one-shot. Because I had no ideas, I just needed practice. And that wasn't very good. So I'm glad Spring was better than that.
Baza!
Baza, yeah.
Oliver and then Axel.
Yeah, I didn't like DMing that much. It was good, but it wasn't as much fun as playing a character, which I find quite easy.
But when you DM, you get to play a billion characters.
But so you guys know this because you've both DM'd for me quite a bit. I get really, really caught up in a story, and I get super, like, swept away with anything, which makes it very hard for me to be the DM.
Sorry, guys. I just came across a message that's really funny. Is a
Yeah?
monarchy race? Is there a monkey race? Troy says, a what? Oh, race like racism. Not a running race.
Race like racism, not running race, is an incredibly unhinged sentence. But I like the idea of a monkey race as a running race.
What
I wanna
type of
see them
monkey
compete.
would win?
Probably
The
one
one
of
that
the
could
fast
talk,
ones.
the one that could beg for oranges.
Obviously one of the fast ones. What? Use your monkey knowledge.
I don't know, a fucking macaque? A baboon, probably. Is it a running race? Is it a foot race, or do they have trees?
No trees. Grab
Yeah,
it.
I think
race,
I think a baboon would win because I think baboons are pretty fast on their feet.
And
Interesting
it'd be
fact.
really funny wait, I'm not done.
Sorry,
Podcast
This is-
etiquette, guys.
this is
It'd
nonsense.
be really funny for the baboon to stand first the whole time, because then everyone gets to look at its funny butt.
True. That's pretty true. That's pretty true. I mean, yeah. Do baboons count as monkeys or are they apes? What's the distinction again? Is it tails? Or no, baboons are monkeys. They're not apes.
Baboons are monkeys. Monkeys are
apes-
whatever you want to be a monkey.
So
Fuck the
next was
distinctions.
Summer.
Hold on. Before we move on from spring, I just want to say
We're
this is
talking
pretty
about monkeys.
interesting.
Shut the fuck up.
This is pretty interesting. I just came across this message. My original idea for I messaged a bunch of character ideas for my characters like way before we did the seasons. Literally in January, and we started in June. I planned my winter character immediately, and pretty much exactly the same. Hadn't played God of War at the time, so I didn't know that it was exactly the same as God of War. You can't judge me; it's just a trope. And then I also had Oliver planned. He was more into bugs initially, And then I also had an idea for a half-orc punk rock bard, which would have been so fucking rad.
That sounds awesome.
That would have been so
That's kind of
fun.
badass.
But I didn't do it. Isn't that heartbreaking?
You still have time.
The only other character I had but didn't play, because I entirely forgot about her, was like a wizard or a sorcerer called Escher, and with either like really high wisdom and really low intelligence, or really high intelligence and really low wisdom. Whatever one that would help my character, like actual stats. Because an Escher sentence is a sentence that sounds like it makes sense until you get to the end of it and you're like, what the fuck did you just say?
Cool.
More people have been to Russia than I have. That's the only other character idea I had. I have a new one though. I want to be Bogo Sort. Which is... Charlie, have you seen the, 15 sorting algorithms in 6 minutes and they all make good noises?
Yeah, I've also studied computer science for 3 years, so
the
a lot of
noise
experience.
there's the guy that does sorting algorithms with sound or whatever. The noise that a BOGO sort makes is constantly happening in my head all the time, but I cannot verbalize it. So I want to be BOGO sort, a silly little D&D character. I do love a character that's just a concept. Based on an actual concept in the world.
I can't think of any characters. That's it.
Oh, cool. Damn, good work, bud. We don't have Troy here, so there's not a lot to say about Summer.
Summer was fun.
Summer was
fun.
Ridiculous. It was a weird time. There was one moment of that I was so proud, because I'm usually not the most observant person. And I often miss things. But at one point, Elis said in character something about controlling us. And I was like, what, bitch? And it just made me so happy that I finally wired into it. Because Lucy had, knew this was happening for so long, but finally having Aurelia figure it out was really exciting. The look of fear in your eyes ruled. Do you guys have any other highlights from Summer?
My highlight from Summer was... it was probably the first time where I played a D&D character that I started not liking and then actually had full character development that made me like the character. And I feel like it's weird to role play a character with character development in mind, because if you don't like them at the start, you don't want to play them. So you don't want to develop them. But for Konsu, I kind of had to. And it happened, I think, pretty well and naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if it were a non-recorded campaign, you probably would have just been like, hey, can I do a different character?
Yeah. There's something about, recording Season Quest is very different from just playing D&D. We play with a really small group, which I really like, but we're also all so invested, and it's really collaborative. Because D&D is you tell a story together. But when you're just playing D&D with, the guys, it's not the same as recording it for a show.
Yeah.
If we, for our personal campaign, I would never have messaged Charlie being like, hey, can we do this? Or, I've got this great idea for this thing. I would have just gone with the flow. Autumn.
We didn't do a Q&A for
really
Autumn.
Good. We recorded one, but we just never released it.
Yeah.
Not because it's shit, but just because the time passed.
It is a little shit, because it's just us three. But
yeah, which is the worst combination.
It's just us three, but also I remember thinking afterwards, fuck, I sound pretentious during that. I fucking wrote the Mona Lisa.
You wrote the Mona Lisa.
You just wrote the title.
I loved
Mona
Autumn.
Lisa.
Autumn has a couple of the best titles. I see no consequences in my future, and Consequences is an incredible back-to-back set of episode titles. Beaten only by an episode of Heroes, this was recorded before Wordle was bought by the New York Times.
Which is
the best episode name we've ever fucking done, and we're never gonna beat it.
Yeah, I think that Autumn was really fun to record. It was also because it was when we'd gotten into our stride as podcasters. And also, I love DMing, so it was two great things for me. And I love fucking with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Runra was a lot of fun because she was a character that I made like years ago and just never got to play.
Yeah.
Bowtie Friday I came up with before Season Quest. Bowtie, I was talking, I was talking to my dad about, so he works at like a law firm. I was like, do you guys do casual Fridays? Because I'm like, in my head, you all have to be like wearing suits all the time. And he's like, no, we don't. But like one of the groups does Bowtie Fridays. And I was like, oh, that's a cowboy name. That's a cowboy name if I've ever heard it.
So
and-
our characters in Autumn, 2/3 of them were pre-Season Quest built.
Very written forever ago.
And one
What
of
it
them
was meant to be.
and one of them was written the day before we started recording. We were driving we were driving back from Lucy's place after recording the finale of Summer, talking about our characters, and Troy went, Tom had an idea I could do for a character that we'd talked about. Maybe I'll do something like that. And then he shows up and gives me his character sheet and is like, this is how I'm going to play. And I'm like, okay, I can come up with something. So everything was super on the fly for Troy, and I think it turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
Especially since his whole thing with death is sort of a central storyline. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Do you want to know something fun / not so fun about Ruwanwa's origins?
Sure.
Yeah.
I came up with the idea of her right when I was starting my antidepressants because I started getting emotions back.
Oh my god.
Fun.
Yeah.
It's a good character.
Yeah. So, yeah, her whole thing was like she lived most of her life emotionless and then, like, throughout her adventure started getting some. And I was like, yo, this could be a fun D&D character when I was, like, actually starting to feel that.
She started getting some emotions,
Yikes.
and she started getting some, if you know what I'm saying.
Hey-o.
From Nailbiter.
That was his name.
Nailbiter.
Great character. Autumn's also the season I realized I was really worried about, like, in general for D&D, I was worried about being, like, too predictable and being like, yeah, this is what people would do. And I realized, because I was talking to you guys about it, when Bowtie left to join the evil side, that just felt obvious to me. And I remember talking to you guys about it, and I was like, yeah, I hope it wasn't, like, too predictable, because it was just this. And you guys were like, that's the most batshit thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, what do you mean that was, like, your, like, thing? I was like, I mean, of course he would. Name one other thing he would do. Of course he just joined the evil side. And that was when I realized, I'm like, oh, I might be a little bit odd.
You're getting
Just a
writer
shred.
brain.
Pardon?
You're getting writer brain. You're thinking too much like a writer now.
Am I? I don't
Well,
want this.
Just worrying
what-
about being predictable.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I've stopped doing that, so I've lost writer brain.
The
Good.
best part about having writer brain is when you write something with your writer brain turned off and realize that it's better than anything you've ever written with writer brain turned on. And you're like, oh, writer brain bad. Writer brain not really writer brain.
Writer brain, just worry brain.
Yeah, writer brain
Oh,
anxiety.
I've got worry brain.
Anxiety writer brain. Yeah, I think
Anything
that
else about
Autumn was cool.
Yeah. Anthology. We'll just kind of go through this quick fire. Ooh, actually, no, I want to talk about R a lot, because I love R.
This is like the Q&A for... Think of this bit as the Q&A for Autumn, which we've already done. That was quick. Didn't take too long. Any heavy questions about Autumn, tweet them at Season Quest, and I'll answer them. But you probably don't have any, right? It's like 6 years ago. Anthology, and then Heroes, it's also... We'll talk about that. So, let's go.
Let's go.
Charlie, who you start with R.
I made in like 2014, 2015, because I really wanted to do something scary, and just doing another D&D session, I was getting fucking tired of it because I'd been DMing a bunch, and I didn't want to do it because it didn't fit with the horror story that I wanted to tell, because I was super into fucking Skinwalkers at the time, as was everyone in 2014, 2015. And again, recently, it's come back. So I made a whole new system to be very, very scary.
Yeah. There's something really special about the first time you play R and you don't know what's gonna happen. Kenny's Party's a really good first R, because that was the only R originally.
Yeah, yeah. It was the one that the system was built for.
Yeah.
I think the magic of R is even knowing that it's going to be scary, you still don't know what you're going to get. So it's really fun to build a story around some fun horror idea you have and figuring out how that's going to fit into the R system. Which is why we want to release R. Well, I'm forcing Charlie by writing it for him and then having him rewrite it. I want to release it on Drive-Thru RPG and stuff like that.
I've been trying to force Charlie to release R for years.
Because I think at this point, R's a pretty clean system. It's already rules light. There's a couple things that we're still tweaking, but for the most part, it's like ready to go. So
yeah, I'm really distractible, lazy, and third thing,
stinky.
Every time, like, before we play the day of, I am like a bundle of wound up energy of like excitement and nerves. I get so scared when we play R, like, genuinely. At the first time we ever played, I was also like very anxious generally. So Charlie was like playing scary music. I had to put my headphones on because I was like, this sucks.
Yeah,
I was like listening to music while we played.
One of the important things I really like to do in my AW games is soundtrack and sound effects, which we couldn't do while we're recording, but I did sort of fixed it in post for our released session.
Which I think works because it was such a small group so heavily paying attention. We still had the fear. You've seen the fucking photo of me. That's how I feel every single R.
I'd love to really quickly talk about how the types of, I mean, this is the R section where we talk about Charlie's system. I want to quickly talk about some of the R games we've played off podcast, if that's okay. Can we do that? Is that allowed? Charlie, you did Kenny's Party, which was the first one, and we talked about that just briefly. Do you want to kind of explain more about the sort of stuff we did for Kenny's Party?
Yeah, the basic gist of it is there's this kid, Kenny. He's like sort of the kid that everybody likes. He's not like the cool kid of the school. He's more just like the chill guy that nobody has a problem with. And he invites a bunch of his friends to a sort of campsite deep in the woods. And like on your way, you see a few suspect things. Specifically, one of my favorite moments to do is as you're driving along the empty road, one of you will catch out of the corner of your eye a wolf or some sort of coyote thing keeping speed with the car and then disappearing into the forest the moment you turn to lock eyes with it, that sort of thing. And as you all get sort of involved with the party, there's this air of something wrong. And Kenny reveals that he found something in the woods. It's like a effigy, and he brought it down to scare you guys with. It looks like a sort of half human, half animal fur scarecrow looking thing, and he tries to scare you all with it. And then it turns out it is like a sort of shrine to a skinwalker type monster that Kenny accidentally released when he took it out of the stone circle. And the goal of the session is to return it to the stone circle before each of you are picked off and replaced by the skinwalker. When you're picked off and replaced by the skinwalker, you have to play for the bad team.
Yeah, you get given a note that says you are bad, basically.
Yeah.
I think the most fun part about doing Kenny's Party was we knew it was going to be scary, kind of, because it was on Halloween. But we didn't know how it was going to be scary, and the way that it ended up happening was super effective.
So I was the last person standing, and the point where I realized that there was a bad team was like halfway through people getting turned, and I didn't know who was left. For all I knew, I was the only person left.
Yeah, there was a point right at the end where I approached Lucy, and me and Lucy have a theme with our R's, where
This
every
was the
single
beginning
time,
of it all.
yeah,
Of
every
course.
single time we play R, we're related. We're brother and sister,
Yeah.
or brother and brother. You know, we're siblings.
Yeah.
And I walked up to Lucy, and I was like, sort of just kind of being like, oh wow, yeah. I mean, we did it, right? And it's da 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 da. Because it was supposed to be returned. I forgot about this.
Everything went wrong.
It was supposed to be returned to the stone circle, but one of the people who was playing with us misunderstood that, thought that that was the bad thing, and so she killed the guy who was returning it to the stone circle with a gun, which meant that there was no way that it could be returned because now we'd essentially won, and all that was left was Lucy's character. And by the end of an R, you always get a little bit of plot armor where you're not immediately turned for whatever the reason is.
Yeah.
And in this case, we all were skinwalkers except for Lucy. And
I think I had like a 5-minute head start, and that was it.
yeah, and so you get in
That
the
was
van
all I
and drive
got.
away. And we got to have a cool scene of me being creepy, which is always my favorite thing to do because I have a knack
creepy.
for being a creepy little guy. I've got this smile that I can do, where I just look like I'm going to be a serial killer for the next 3 years.
Well, the next was 100 Room Hotel.
Yeah.
That
So,
was during lockdown.
Yeah. 100-room hotel was something that was inspired by sort of Hotel California, the song. A lot of them begin with a similar premise where one of your friends invites you to hang out in this creepy place. In this instance, I forget the character's name, but his uncle basically said, hey, can you look after my hotel while I'm away and while there's no patrons? Basically just like keep it running and make sure nothing blows up. He invites you all to the 100-room hotel, which surprisingly has 100 rooms.
Yeah.
And the horror aspect of it is it was built on sort of sacred ground with sacred trees, which are angry and now are finally sort of fighting back. And each room has its own little horror theme that you go through.
And we became
think
ghosts.
You became ghosts of the forest kind of thing. I think the way to end it was to plant a seed in the last room.
Yeah, you had to plant a seed in either room 100 or the lounge. I don't remember which.
Yeah.
And about midway through, we got a magnifying glass that told us whether or not we were dead. My character died from smoking weed about 20 minutes in. Before anything scary had happened, everyone was passing a blunt around. My nerdy little guy took a hit, and Charlie decided that would kill me.
That was
Still
that
mad
was
about
fucked
it.
up.
Still mad about it.
Charlie did something really fun though with this, which was you had invisible ink. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
often the notes are written just in pen or pencil on paper. You wrote some of them in invisible ink.
Yeah.
And so you had ones that said you are dead and you are not dead.
You had to scan over them with the invisible ink once
yeah.
we got that special magnifying glass that told you whether or not you were dead.
That's
Yeah,
right.
so
yeah.
I
Or mirror
I
piece
remember
or
you
whatever it
gave
was.
me a bit of paper and it was blank and I just assumed it was blank and you had your own special meaning. I didn't think invisible ink because fucking of course I didn't. I'm not a like kid spy from 2002. And I think I wrote on it something along the lines of don't hurt me. And then I scanned with it just said don't hurt me in pencil and then just with the invisible ink it just said you are dead and caps behind it. It was really scary looking.
Yeah. One of my favorite things and one of the most important aspects of awe is the notes and the sort of feeling that they can instill in people, because awe is about mistrust. Basically, I want to set the feeling in early that I don't know if I can trust the people I'm with. I don't know if I can trust the notes that are happening across. I don't know what they mean. Like some of the notes will say things like, point at a player of your choosing. And it may or may not have meaning. But the main goal of that is to make people already on edge.
Yeah.
I think the best part about art is because no one else can see the notes. No one else knows what the rules are really for how. So when you're the first person to get a note, or even like when you're the second person to get a note, once you get a note, you're like, oh shit, and then no one else knows what's going on. So
You're like, this is the game.
Yeah, so with the first one, like, there was kind of this, like, point where you sort of started to understand, oh, if you're alone with someone, that's when you get handed a note. But also, like, you can't exactly just avoid being alone with someone. If you go somewhere, you have to do something. Like, in Kenny's party, I had to call my parents because I had the strict parents disadvantage. I had to call my parents at any given opportunity, and we find this cabin with a phone. So I go in there alone, but one of the other players follows me in, and I can't do anything about that because my character doesn't know this. Only I know this, the player. I think art is the perfect game to play when you want to, like, you just want to roleplay and you want to... And metagaming is, like, almost entirely off the table, unless you're Charlie, in which case you will struggle really hard to not metagame. You'll do your best, and then the moment you get handed the note, you're like, okay, I'm in character, that's fine, I'm in character, but this is bullshit.
A great moment from Tom's second R that he ran, where I was a bad guy desperately trying to kill Charlie, and you were just ignoring me, and then at one point I went, but this, and you just pause, and you so earnestly went just, you bitch. and I got you. It was great.
Yep.
So the next R we ever played was Tom's.
Yeah, and we could skip it. It wasn't that good. It was based in the 1950s, which was unique.
It was good. It was just too dense.
I think the era was fun, and I think them being college students was fun because that was a twist because it's all about high school students normally.
Yeah,
but
it was a lot of fun.
The actual, like, thing was, I kind of thought that this would be my only R that I'd ever run because I kind of didn't realize that R would become a regular thing that we would do a lot. So I pushed in about 3 different horror ideas that I had, including the town being haunted by Civil War people, the town being a cult, and also there being a cryptid in the town, which was the Loveland Frogman. So I think that one's kind of not that good because I definitely could have just done 3 Rs or 2 Rs because 2 of them were very similar ideas. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that one. I don't remember it.
It was still good. The only bit that annoyed me is you gave the last player so much plot armor, and I was like, but I shot him. That was the only bit that annoyed me. I was like, I shot him and I hit him with a car. I don't know what else I can do.
Yeah. It's a balance you have to sort of work out with R is how much...
It was still really fun.
Because it sucks when when everyone loses. That sucks for, like, but also it doesn't really suck for everyone who's already lost. So it's a balance that you have to play with. And that was just before I understood the balance. I think in what I would have done if I did it now, I would have just had some scary stuff happen. And it would have been fine.
That was the quickest succession we've ever played R in, because that was one lockdown. That was like 5 weeks, because Charlie was working at Alert Level 3 for us. So it was like 5 weeks of all of us doing stuff together all the time. So I think we played 2 Rs in the space of 2 weeks, and we played board games and D&D and watched movies like every single night. It was exhausting.
Yeah, I ran my favorite D&D campaign I've ever run. Well, my favorite D&D, like, little
the Underend one, yeah.
Which was really fun. And I wanted to do that for Season Quest. That was going to be... My Autumn was going to be based in Underend, but then I decided that would be too much homebrew for our stupid players stupid listeners to understand. And players. Our players are dumb.
Charlie, I just we both had fantastic names for that one. Because I was a bunny called Canned Peaches. Yeah. And you were Dense.
I was...
Dense rocks.
And I played a character named Dense. I was a stone golem named Dense, but he was actually very smart.
I love how sidetracked we're getting so easily. It's
Yeah.
great. We're not even talking about
Season
Season
Quest
anymore. Yeah, we can rush through the rest of the fun R's we did because we don't have to get into huge detail about all of them. We did one at we did Charlie ran one, which was Timmy had a timeshare. That one's really good. That's going to be
sort of
in the example
went down
document.
to Georgia kind of thing. Yeah.
That was a manic time because there was 10 of us.
Yeah, and we all got really drunk and we ruined
Yeah.
the scary part of the game pretty quickly. Then I did one called Land of Oz, which was really fun. It was about an abandoned theme park in Wizard of Oz, and that was really fun. And I got to play a lot of good songs, like Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And then Cyan she won that R and then decided that she didn't want to win it, so she went back
That
and
was
lost,
so
which I think
funny.
was really funny.
That ruled.
Then
Call of Cthulhu was that next?
Yeah, Call of Cthulhu was next, which you listened
Back
to.
to Season Quest.
Great,
And then I
great
ran one.
episodes.
And then I ran one, which is also going to be in the document that we're definitely
Yeah,
going to release.
don't talk about it because it was a good idea, so I don't want to talk about it at all.
And
But then Cyan
I
ran
got
one
surprised.
that ruled. Yes,
You
this
guys-
was the best time ever.
You guys invited me for board games night, and I show up, and we just hang out for a bit. We play some fucking fighting games on the Switch, and then someone was like, let's set up the table for board games. We came here for board games, let's play. And I sat down on the couch, table's getting set up, and then Cyan starts handing me pieces of paper, and I'm just like taking them and not looking at them, because I'm just like, okay, it's paper. I thought she was like moving it off the printer to make space or something, and then everyone was looking at me, and I was like, the hell is going on? So I looked down at the papers, and it was one of the most pleasant surprises I've ever gotten. It was so fun.
So good. And so Cyan ran an R. I didn't co-run it, but I was like almost like an NPC because me and Cyan came up with a lot of, like, she had the base idea, but we spent a lot of the time coming up with like plot points and notes and stuff together. But nobody knew that. So I think Tom vaguely knew it because him and Cyan had already been talking about it. But none of the other players knew that.
I knew it because Cyan started planning it. We went for a drive, and she immediately spilled the beans.
So it was going to be a surprise for Charlie and Tom, but Cyan gave up on that, which is fine. But so I had notes as well. Like I had notes hidden on me that I could start passing out. Kind of from the second half onwards, there was a great moment where I passed Charlie a note, and you look at me and you go, "What?" And I was like, "It's a note." And you're like, "Are you giving me this note?" I was like, "Yes." And you were like, "What the fuck?" It was so much fun.
Okay.
That was a really, really good time.
That was cool.
I think that's a good amount of section for R. We talked about R for a little bit, and
More time than we talked about Season Quest.
Yeah.
but
Also,
super fun system.
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead, Charlie.
Before we move on, just one little teaser. I know you're planning one, Tom, but I've also started planning one. Working title: A Night in Nevada.
Cool. My one is, I don't have a title for it really. It's just going to be called, I think I'm just going to call it Summer Camp, and then whatever the summer camp's name is, which I can't remember because it's not English. It's a Navajo word.
I know it's really exciting that you're like gonna come down and see us at some point, Charlie, and I'm so excited for that. But I'm also really excited to play R.
I think it's so funny that Charlie knows this and he's heartbroken about it because we talked about it when we were playing GeoGuessr. The only reason that anyone wants Charlie to come back to Wellington is so that we can play tabletop games with him. We don't actually.
That's
want
not
him
the
as a
only
friend.
reason. We're also friends.
We hate the guy. He fucking sucks.
That's not true. He fucking sucks, but I don't hate him. Hey, what was next in the anthology?
Next up was Court Case.
It was
With special guest.
With Jackson
special
Bailey.
guest.
Jackson
You
was
didn't
really
like
nice.
this. He was so nice. He
No,
was
I didn't
so
like it.
cool. Tom wasn't a huge fan of it because he was just like, I don't know how to make courtroom good.
Well,
So we threw
okay.
around the idea, and then
Can
we
I-
invited him, and you got really nervous about it.
I'm gonna break down what happened. We were talking about anthology. I went, it would be so fun to do a court case thing on D&D, and Lucy went, it would be super fun. And then she messaged Jackson Bailey saying, hey man, we're gonna do this court case thing. Do you want to be in that? And I went, oh shit, this is real now, and now I have to do it because he said he would immediately.
Tom agreed to it.
I agreed to it. I just was like, it was at the point where
Before I messaged Jackson.
It's kind of like, when like you say something as a joke and then someone thinks that it's real, so you feel bad about sort of like, you don't want to seem like you were lying. That's what happened here.
Okay, so this isn't fair because Tom said this idea and I went, oh, that'd be really cool. I would also love to have a guest for it. I think this person would be like really ideal for it. We want to do court? And you were like, yeah. So you can't say it like I should have known.
Oh, I'm not saying that you should have known. I'm just saying I definitely had no idea what I was doing, and
I think it turned out good.
Yeah, it was fun. Not my best work.
I think it's good. I had so much fun doing it. It was really fun to record with Jackson. It was all like through and through just such a good time. Like straight up a dream come true. Because I really love making a podcast. And I've listened to Sanspants Radio forever. So it was just like the best time.
Yeah, he was really nice to us. He also was really good to me because he made sure to like tell me his character and stuff like that. And he was like, can we do
He's a professional.
Should we do a Discord chat beforehand so that you can get used to who I am and stuff like that, which was really chill because he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to take time out of his day. I think
he was so funny as well.
Yeah, that was really fun. So that's court. Anyone have any questions for court?
I don't have questions, but I just want to talk a little bit about the initial bit of like getting Jackson to do the podcast. I was really, really nervous to message him. I was like couldn't bring myself to do it, nervous. And then he tweeted, kind of as a joke, kind of for real, if you ever want me to be on your podcast, I'll be in your podcast. I'll be on any podcast. I want to be on your podcast. And I was like, well, this is a sign. So I messaged him like immediately. And then we were talking like on the day of recording. He was like, yeah, I kind of regret making that tweet. Like, this is like, I'm looking forward to this because it's a really fun concept, but I'm going to be on so many podcasts and it's going to be good, but I'm just so busy.
Yeah. So him and I have been playing, we've got a Minecraft server that we play, and we build.
Which you still haven't let me in yet.
Yeah, so it's actually just for us, and that's kind of the whole thing, is that we build that.
Well,
yeah, it's
I went
online.
I went up to the sign up page and I saw so many people have been approved.
Yeah, well, famous people.
No one in New Zealand's allowed to play. But
We've got Steven Spielberg in there. He's great.
That rules. What was next for Anthology?
It was Crown, which was just like this, without Troy.
Yeah.
I loved Crown.
We've got a bit of a pattern going on here.
I know, right?
This is like the third time in this episode that we're recording right now that we've mentioned that Troy couldn't make it.
Well, it's because Troy sometimes can't make it. Crown was an idea I came up with forever ago. It's a lot like Half a Spring. I came up with it by listening to a different podcast. And
What's
so
the podcast? Give it a plug.
So, okay, for both the Sanspants Radio ones, don't come for me. For Spring, it was for Jackson Bailey Spooks America about the Voynich manuscript, which is the book you guys were trying to look for. And then this was, I think it was a Hey D&D It's Me Adam episode, with just like talking about, I don't remember which episode or what they were talking about in particular, but just the idea of a person being an object. Just because I deeply, to my core, love objectifying Charlie. So, and I was, of course I would have loved Troy to be there. I was a little worried about what I would have Troy do. My idea was a sword. But it was, I wasn't quite sure for that. So yeah, I was, two people for this was
Scepter,
good.
also the other option.
Yeah, sword or scepter, something like that. Scepter was so he could like cast spells and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, two people worked for this. It was very chaotic.
It was fun.
You guys both hated each other and loved each other, but you were both so scared of each other.
I loved playing my
Very
character
odd.
who had no idea what was going on at all times.
And I loved being an evil bastard again.
You've got a stereotype.
one of my favorite things was it was the first time I ever played a paladin, and I thought paladins were lame before then, but then I played it and I was like, wow, this is really fun.
Yeah.
So
Paladins are fucking cooked.
we also before that recorded a heist, but that one got fucked.
Rest in peace. It was a beautiful fucking heist.
It was very fun.
I don't know if I liked the entire... This is an ongoing thing. DMs being worried about the thing they've deemed not being good. We had one of the funniest conversations, though. It was...
And it's gone, and it's so sad. Because it is probably the funniest season quest has ever been.
It's...
Have we talked about it before, like, in detail?
I think we talked about it on the autumn recap, which I haven't released, so you guys can talk about it now.
So
It's
we were
not
talking
that
about
funny in retrospect, though, right? So
Yeah.
it's...
No, it's just funny in the
talking about
moment.
vampires heisting a blood bank at first, right? That was the sort of start of it.
Yeah.
And then we sort of moved on to the topic, as we often do, to come.
Which
and we started talking
listeners
about
might not
sperm
know,
banks.
because I don't know if listeners are aware of this, but I edit so much fucking cum out of this show. It's my number one job.
So yeah, we were robbing a sperm bank was the joke. Not in the heist, but as part of the conversation. Then we talked about the jerker.
Yeah,
Who was
because
the
like
Joker?
the Joker's one of the Joker's origins is falling into a vat of acid during a crime in a chemical warehouse, and this villain's origin was he was heisting a sperm bank and fell into the vat of cum, which is what they keep at sperm banks, obviously.
Yeah,
He
they
becomes
keep it
the
all in one
jerker.
big bucket.
He becomes the jerker. It's one of the funniest things ever.
It was an unhinged episode, but it was very funny.
I really wanted to have the jerker make an appearance in Heroes, but we either would have had to have Mackay come on and season guest, and we never really talked about season guesting for Heroes, and I sort of just forgot, or I would have just had to put in an unexplained cum man just as a villain, and Lucy wouldn't have let me do that, I don't think.
No, I wouldn't have.
I think the jerker is something that is perfect as something that's lost to time for our ears only. Troy just woke
Next
up.
was Poke Boys. Oh, that's exciting.
Just by the way, so he
great
might join in
timing
a
for him to
second.
jump in. Well, there's only a couple more things to talk about.
Yeah.
One of them is Poke Boys, which will wait a second for Troy. But the thing is, we've all written our own TTRPGs at this point.
Yeah.
Charlie wrote R forever ago. That just keeps getting improved upon. Tom wrote one called Gore.
I thought you said that I wrote R. I thought you were
I
saying
heard that
I wrote
too.
R.
I was like,
Lucy,
what the fuck?
Lucy,
Nope.
like, I wrote R. Really proud of it. Wish Charlie would do some fucking work sometime.
Yeah, bastard. Tom wrote Gore, which we haven't really talked about much.
Yeah,
Because we
but
haven't done it on
I'll
Season
probably
Quest.
run a season quest for it at some point. But it's like a cool, like Akira-inspired Lord of the Flies, gore
Apocalyptic
stuff.
TTRPG where you use playing cards.
Yeah.
Troy, obviously, him and Ryan wrote the Poke Boys RP. And I wrote one, which I've got a fucking thing to say about this as well. I wrote one called Lucy's Law, based on a tweet about how I should just run campaigns, but no one gets stats, it's just if I like your ideas or not. And I actually wrote it up, and it's like a page and a half, and I didn't put like a ton of time into it, but I had the ideas already, and I was like trying to be really careful with my spelling and grammar, which I find quite difficult, and like I was trying to like actually write my ideas down properly,
We
so
haven't
like it's
played it,
readable
right?
and stuff. No, we haven't.
Okay, because I was about to say I have no memory of this.
That's fine. And I sent it to the boys to all have a read over, and I know Tom's the only one that read it. And I was
Charlie
talking
doesn't
to
read
Tom about
anything you
it.
send him. I sent him a script and recently, and he hasn't
Oh,
read either.
shit. I'll read it today when you're working.
And I sent it, and Tom reads it, and I was like, Tom, I sent you the like Lucy's Law thing. What do you think? And the very first thing he says to me is, spelling and grammar could use some work.
It could have. But it's
Yeah,
it
but
works.
that's
It's
not the
fun.
point.
Well, I couldn't think of anything to say. It's very rules light, and it seems fun, and I want to play it.
It's incredibly rules light. There's two mechanics.
There's no dice.
There is dice.
There's
Everyone
dice.
has a d20.
There's dice.
You get 5 things in your inventory. They can be whatever you want. Instead of stats, you just tell me what you want to do and how you're going to do it, and I'll tell you the plus or minus to your score depending on if I think it's good or shit. And of course, it's got my only other mechanic I like, which is a timer. You have 60 minutes or whatever to solve your problem. And that's it. That's the entire game.
So these will all be on. Me and Lucy will do these at some point on season.
We're gonna write all of them out.
Maybe the next anthology if we do one of those again.
We'll see.
I would be keen to. I don't want to DM another big campaign anymore.
Yeah.
I'm too busy. I'm not even that busy. I just find writing really difficult.
I love DMing. I'm happy to do another one.
Me too.
Let's talk about Haunt.
Oh yeah, we had Haunt.
Speaking of Lucy DMing.
I gave myself so much anxiety over this. I was very happy with the concept though, because it's based on one of my favorite board games ever, Betrayal at the House on the Hill. And it was so in Crown. There's one bit where Charlie gets warped to another dimension, and I make it like a prison dimension, and like I give it a lot of story for something that happened randomly because of wild magic. So I was very proud of myself for that, because I'm like, I thought of something on the fly. I'm very bad at that for DMing. And then in Haunt, you guys get in the coffin, and it's the best coming up with something on the spot I've ever done, which was you guys having a mirror world. Which I was so excited you guys were calling it the mirror world, because that's the card it was based off on Betrayal in the House on the Hill, the mirror.
The mirror dimension.
So that was just a weird coincidence.
I think Haunt
What
has
did you
my
guys think
least
of
favorite character I've ever played in Tetzel. He fucking sucks. Blood Hunters aren't that fun. Sorry, Matt Mercer. I know you're listening. And also, I mean, it was cool to be a Lycan, but like that was kind of like it. And then the whole thing of him being like an edgy monster hunter was like a fun gag for like maybe an episode, and then it was just insufferable for the rest of it for me. And me and Charlie talked a lot about how we can make Tetzel and Zinc have cool character arcs, and then couldn't do them because we're idiots.
I had so much fun with Zinc Doctor Menace 2, Raptor's Revenge, the soccer playing half orc. It was a great character for me.
Zinc is a really fun character. And I think also, I just want to say it, monks are fun. People talk about how monks are like the worst class. Chill. They're fun.
It's fucking sweet. And
you punch a bunch in a turn. It's awesome. It's very fun. It doesn't need to be overpowered, guys. It's just a fun little guy.
Yeah, and basing it off of like the Shaolin soccer was fucking fun too.
And a drunken monk.
Yeah, the two of my favorite kung fu movies.
The two genders, Shaolin Shocker and Drunken Monk. Shaolin Shocker.
And then we did Heroes.
Which was long.
Which was...
I got blindsided by that. So basically, we started Heroes.
Stop saying this like I'm a bad producer.
No, I'm about to... It's gonna be praise.
Lucy, you're not a bad producer, you're just a bad person.
No, that's not better.
I had a very basic sort of 12 episode plan. And we got started. We recorded the first episode and a bit of episode 2. And then Lucy messages me and says, hey, I've been thinking about doing one of our season quest seasons like extra long, like 24 episodes. And I think Heroes is a really good chance to do that. Are you keen? And my immediate thought was, fuck no, I don't want to do that at all. And then I sat on it for like another minute or two, and I was like, oh, fuck yeah, actually. Because I've got a lot more heroes to run, a lot more villains to run, and we can do like side silly shit too.
Yeah.
So I was like, fucking great idea, let's do this.
I thought about it quite a bit before I messaged you, because I knew it was like a lot to put on you. Especially with, like, we'd already done the first session, so you couldn't change that or anything.
Yeah.
but everyone had so much fun. And I know how much you love superheroes, and you'd already told me that a lot of this is stuff you'd come up with forever ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if you've come up with so much of this forever ago, you can think of more now. I was aware about how passionate you were about this. I was really worried you'd say no, because I was like, well, if we don't do it for heroes, we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
I was like, there's not going to be another season where I think will be as applicable, because we can't do it for puppets, because it's like a mystery. You don't want to like
drag it out.
Like that'll be boring. Yeah. And I don't think Troy would want the pressure to do a double season.
Yeah.
Because like it's a lot.
And the thing with like a sort of superhero story is it can have mystery in it. Mine did. But the fun of it also is it's not a mystery that the players have to necessarily solve themselves, because a lot of the times the villains will just spurt it out.
Yeah.
I love masks as a system. I've always been a huge superhero fan. So I was super excited to play a superhero, and I ended up having 2 ideas. So Charlie let me play 2 characters when we extended the season. Fissure is like, I think, probably my favorite character I've ever played. I really love his character development, and I also love his powers, and I also love his voice is really fun to do.
Fissure's really, really good.
And then Cobalt Copper's also really fun to play, because he was essentially like, it's so fun to be the alien and just be confused by everything, and also the powers were insanely good. Like, he was the strongest thing I've ever played.
Definitely OP.
And that was really fun. I think that Heroes was like so fun as a player, so funny as a podcast, and I'm glad it was 6 months, because if it was less, that would be stink.
Yeah. I loved playing Gracie so much. I was kind of thinking about it more. I was like, what does Gracie remind me of? I feel like she's like the superhero I would have wanted to be when I was a kid. Like, if I was a kid and I could pick which superhero I'd be, it would be her. Because I just really like Gracie's character and stuff, and like there's parts about her that remind me of me, like very on edge about stuff. I think it's like the big one, and the want to be leadery. But like coming up with the character, I had such a hard time thinking of a character for this, because you can kind of look through the rules and stuff and be like, oh, which playbook sounds fun, but it isn't the same as D&D, because in D&D we've played it a bunch, and like I know all the playbooks and stuff, like I know all the classes and stuff, so picking a playbook for this was a lot harder, so I wanted to have a character first. And I cannot believe how word vomity I get. I sent Charlie like 9 messages in a row.
Well,
and I'm so inarticulate. I want to be themed around a magic cable. Can I? For marks. I want a magic cable that I can consult. That's usually right. That's 4 separate messages.
Yeah, then I was just kind of like, all right, I think I can, what about this?
You're like, yeah, what? I like cut off a message halfway through at one. You're like, yeah, that sounds good. Are you like non-powered without the ball? And I'm like, I don't know yet. It'd be funny if that was my only thing and I just had a gun. Maybe it'd be more interesting if there was like I was a superhero and there was a story to it. Oh, maybe if I was a psychic to someone really smart and then they died and I got to put them in a magic cable. Like, I interrupt myself typing.
Yeah. And the cool thing about Mass 2 is, like, with that playbook stuff, not knowing which one to pick, I think part of that is because they leave so much up to you with how you decide to play that character. Like, the playbooks are very generalized so that you can sort of almost fit in...
You can be anything.
Like, any character concept.
Yeah.
Let's play a game real quick.
Yeah.
Which superheroes do you think I made when I was a kid, and which ones do you think I made specifically for Season Quest?
Okay. I think I know...
All of the 6, you were a kid.
True, except for Ice Kate. She was just sort of slapped on.
Yeah. I think Dr. Density, when you were a kid, was also a man. And you made it a woman the older you got. Because you realized that woman existed. So,
that's true. That is true.
I think that Star Jockey
Paul,
is recent.
Yeah, he's new.
Yep.
Because you probably didn't like Iron Man when you were young, because who did?
Trick Shot's obviously no.
Yep.
Wade's obviously no.
Yep. But
Hallow, I think's relatively old,
well,
but him being
Hallow
evil
was-
is new.
yeah, Hallow was sort of different because he wasn't as sort of like he was space themed, but he wasn't as space cop themed until Tom messaged me something along the lines of, "Do you have like a sort of Green Lantern equivalent?" And I was like, "I could put Hallow in that." Yeah.
I don't even remember why I did that.
Yeah, I don't remember either. But you did that.
I messaged
couple
you a lot of
times.
questions about superheroes.
Yeah.
Because
But some of them,
I came up with my character because I asked you who everyone in the six was, and then decided which freak I would be based on them, and Rift was the one I decided. The other one I think was maybe I was thinking of Dr. Density, maybe, and then I was going to be like very heavy all the time, but I think that Fissure is a way better character.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I just want to
Who
say,
else?
unless we want to, is the game still going? I'm guessing which superheroes you made as a kid
There's 3 more definites.
that you made
Just
as a
tell
kid.
us.
I'll just reveal it. It was Patient Hero, The Answer, and Memory Bank.
They're both from when you were a kid.
More when I was like a teen. Those ones when I started like writing some Earthpoint stuff that never
When you started
saw
playing
the light.
Resident Evil. It's really funny because one of my characters that I'm an idiot and I can't stop thinking of characters once I start trying to think of them. And one of the characters that I wanted to play was a Resident Evil inspired guy who got experimented on and got like this sort of zombie sickness that made him like Resident Evil, where he can like sort of do like a bunch of body horror stuff.
Yeah.
And then I told Charlie that, and the next episode, Patient Hero showed up. And I think that's really funny. But I knew that Charlie hadn't stolen my idea because he'd messaged me saying something along the lines of like, I don't know if that would work. And I went, oh, okay. Something's happening, I see.
I remember like one of my memories was in high school. I drew like a mini comic about Patient Hero. And I based his look off of Peter Capaldi, one of the doctors, one of the most recent doctors.
The old one.
Except he had like a big old scarf and he looked really sick. I never really got to explore his powers more so in Season Quest, but that was because he was old news and it was more about you guys.
He's gross now.
Yeah.
I had a really good idea for maybe if we did another anthology, I would do this, but I don't want to oversaturate heroes and do a bunch of hero stuff all the time. But I did have a really fun idea where it's heroes, but it's 90s grunge aesthetic, like 90s comics. I had a really good idea for a hero for that called Locksmith, and his power is that he can summon chains and locks from a different dimension and uses them to beat up villains and trap them and stuff. And I think that's such a 90s idea for a
90s.
character. I mean, if you remember, when I did Cyberpunk, I literally specified culture stopped in the 90s, so it's all very 90s grunge. Everyone uses chain whips and stuff like that. That's the sort of thing that I think I love that aesthetic. I think it's so fun. And just like dope. So that would be another hero that I'd think about playing, but I probably wouldn't play that for a long running thing because he's kind of just like an edgy character, and edgy characters aren't super fun to play for me.
I think that might be it. I think that might be the whole recap team.
The whole shebang.
Does anyone have any other highlights they want to bring up? Any other moments where you're like, this is good?
I love the Season Quest rap. Stand by that. That
Iconic.
was the best thing to come out of this godforsaken podcast.
I started a little bit like looking for backtracks and writing down a few rhymes for a hero's rap, but that was on my old phone. And then
That's
it
so
broke.
tragic.
Still waiting, Charlie, on your every single
NPC
character in
rap.
Season Quest rap.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
The list is getting longer and longer, especially after Heroes.
I should do that sooner rather than later.
I think you
hero
shouldn't
section
do
is
it,
going to
full
be
stop.
enormous.
I think you shouldn't do it.
What?
I think it's too much at this point. You'll break your brain.
I could just do the first 4 seasons.
Yeah.
You could try. 4 seasons, we ain't in a hotel, 4 reasons to subscribe and hit that motherfucking bell.
Shut up.
I also want to say really quickly, I was asked by someone recently what one of my friends was like, I need to start Season Quest because he like started listening to Winter and then stopped because he kind of ran out of time. And he's a really good friend of mine, and he was like, I wish I could like just like skip the ones that aren't I wish I could just skip everyone that and just watch like a random season. I went, oh, that's the whole point. You can just listen to a random season. So if you want, so I recommended him Heroes and Autumn because I did Autumn and Heroes is superheroes and he likes superheroes. I just think it's so funny that people don't get our main concept.
Which we specify every time we start a new season. Specifically, Lucy tweets out or puts it out that like, hey, if you've never listened to Season Quest before, it's okay. These aren't connected.
Yeah. Overall, I've had a very good time. And we're going to continue to have a very good time until I am too busy to do this.
We just like playing games.
We really like playing games. I really like editing. I'm glad I have enough time to do this.
You guys are my friends.
And Troy, even if he's not here.
And Troy, even if he's still not here.
Where is he? Wasn't he going to hop on and say something about Poke Boys?
Yeah, well,
he hasn't. So, Poke Boys was really fun. I don't know what Pokemon is.
I also want to say, I don't know if you're listening, Sam, but I really appreciate all the fan art that you do for us. It's really cool.
Dude, fuck yeah.
Also, same for every other person who just tweets at us
smiley.
And says that they like the show or messages us and says stuff nice. That's awesome. It means a lot, and I think it's really cool.
Shout out to the Fate of Eyes in Discord, which they added me in.
Anyone that knows how to make puppets, feel free to make my puppets.
That's a big ask.
I was going to do it, but I'm lazy. You know what we forgot to talk about?
Fun.
Battle Royale. That was fun.
Oh, yeah. That was fun. That was scary.
I made miniatures.
I don't want to talk about it. It made me sad.
But yeah, that was fun. Anyways.
Charlie did the most Charlie thing he's ever done in his life in that episode.
What?
Charlie, we get to this plane and Charlie as Elis is like, welcome to hell, bitch. This is my plane. I was very impressed with that. Anyhow, thank you for listening. You can find us at Season Quest Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Thank you for listening. You can find us at Season Quest Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Sorry this episode wasn't really structured or anything. It never is. But, yeah. Keep listening. There's fun stuff coming.
Yeah, you can think of this as just us being friends, and this is how we talk when we're friends. We talk to an audience at all times.
When we talk in real life, we are like, okay, we have to stay on topic, and then that next topic we'll get to soon. But let's return to this. I swear to God,
can we stop recording?
Yep. Bye.
Goodbye.
Wow, was that not the best 2-year anniversary of Season Quest recording you've ever heard? I'm Troy J. Malcolm, and it was a pleasure not being here. I slept through it, but I'm glad you got to listen to my friends Tom, Lucy, and Charlie. You can follow us at Season Quest Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you can check us out on the SPLITelevision Productions YouTube channel. Join us for more Season Quest next week. Wahey! Bye!